Hi, everybody. Well, I think I just found something that I was not a fan of on the all-new Sun Princess. It took me a while, but I think I found something. So, as many of you know, on the Sun Princess, they've done a lot of new things. They've added a new suite area. They've added different dining like Tapanaki. They've made, changes to where the buffet is, to where International Cafe is. They've made a lot of changes on board. And I'm not one to say that the changes are bad, because basically it's more along the lines of, well, wait a minute, I gotta get used to it. I'm so used to the other princess ship designs that this one can turn you around a bit. This one can make you a little disoriented. Does it mean it's a bad design? No. So I'm not going to say, well, the buffet should always be on the top deck and it shouldn't be on deck 9. I'm not going to say that, because it just takes some getting used to and some time to get used to some certain things. But there is something on the ship that's very, very different. And one of those things is what they call the arena, which is now the new Princess Theater. This is now basically a theater in the round, and it can configure itself into 3 different types. It can remove seats, it can spread out, it can design itself different. And so tonight we went and saw Becky, who's an a tribute artist for Adele. And it was my first experience in the arena so far. They are running some shows there, just not the Broadway shows yet, and just not the Cirque shows yet up in the arena. Sorry, the Dome. But we sat second last row, and pretty much dead center, but second last row. And I was not a fan of the viewing area from up there. Now, if you follow me at all, I'm a front row guy. But we went and saw The Magician beforehand, and we went and saw the sisters playing the violin in O'Malley's, playing some Scottish music. We were trying to get in as much as we possibly could, being here for only 5 days. You want to see as much of the entertainment that's being offered as possible. So we went and saw those things. So we knew we were going to get to the theater last and not sit where I want to sit. And I must say that if I was sitting where I normally sit, the viewing would have been spectacular, would have been first rate. However, where I sat, it kind of got cut off by a railing of seats going down the left-hand side, where the left-hand side of the stage got cut off, as well as the problem for me mostly was the fact that they weren't policing people who just showed up late and then stood there. Now, there was an entrance behind us, then you have about 8 rows of seats, and then there's another level flat where people can come in at, and then you can walk down and get more seats. Well, people came down that corridor and then moved out to the front and stood there for 3 or 4 songs, blocking anybody in a direct line of sight behind them. And they did not remove that person, saying, sorry, you can't stand here. That's something I think they're going to need to work on with this type of stage. They're basically should be saying, sorry, if you don't show up on time or you can't find a seat, you have to move on, because it ruins the experience for other people. Other people are trying to watch the show and they can't. And I don't know how many up-teen people I stood there watching who showed up into the songs that they were all, like she was already on stage singing for the theater show. That was jam-packed. And they all do the same thing. They all walk down in front of us and do this. And are all shocked and amazed that there's no seats left 5 minutes into the start of the showtime. Now, if you've been on other cruise lines, sometimes you might not be used to the shows filling up. But I'll tell you, on Princess, the last 7 or 8 cruises I've been on, the shows fill up fast. It doesn't matter if you're at the early show. It doesn't matter if you're at the late show. They fill up fast. People want to see the shows on Princess Cruise Lines. And especially, like right now, inaugural cruises, you want to see what the new entertainment is. Now, we are seeing magicians, comedians, things like that up on stage. And I will say, like they always say this, Celebrity says the same thing on their Edge class. Holland America says the same thing on their Rotterdam, saying, that the walkout stage, the kind of circle, and then these seats all around it. They say, there's no bad seat in the house. Yes, there is. There are plenty of bad seats in the house. Where I sat was a bad seat. The singer was great, very entertaining. She was funny. She had the audience singing with her. She had the audience laughing with her. But it was so distracting having these people walk up and down. And I mean, all the way until there was like 10 minutes left to go in the show. There were still people standing in the aisles and still people walking back and forth, up and down. And it got really, really distracting. And I don't mean they were leaving. It would be okay with me. So, okay, well, we decided we want to leave, and they get up and left. That's one thing. These people were coming in with 10 minutes left to go. That sort of thing. That just takes you out of the night, and it's very distracting because all you have is a shadow blocking the stage in front of you. And people say, well, you can still see the main singer. Well, at some point you couldn't. At one point, there was a lady standing right there blocking the main singer on the stage for 2 songs. No one behind her could see this main singer of the thing. And they need to look at that right now. I know it's a brand new ship. They just started putting people in the arena this week. So they've only been doing this for 3 days. So I completely understand they're getting used to things. But they got to stop people from standing in those aisles. And everybody, please just show up on time. Don't be those people who show up 10 minutes in and then walk around everybody else. Walk through the front rows. Walk around looking for seats. Thinking, well, we got a family of 6 together. Why can't we find seats together in the front row? Well, this show's been on for 10 minutes. It's distracting for people watching. It's distracting for the entertainers up on board who are trying to entertain, and people are doing this in front of them when the show's doing what they're trying to perform. Really super distracting. And so, yeah, I think they have to look at that. I've never been a fan of this design of theater because if you put somebody up, like for instance, I was watching tonight where the main singer was singing for most of the night. If you were over on the left-hand side of the stage at the far seats, you were watching her behind the entire show. You did not see her face one time during the show. And that's a problem for me for entertainment like this. When it's a single soloist, a pianist, a violinist, a guitar player, if they're not moving around the stage like this, around so everyone gets a chance to see them and walk around the stage, if they're addressing all their music to the front, 1/3 of the audience, then the people on the sides are just watching the side of a person's face, watching their back, and just you might as well listen to the radio. Because it's the exact same thing. You're not really seeing anything. And that's the kind of problem I have with these type of theaters. Now, if you get a good seat, if you're in the front areas, I really like the design, how high it goes up, because it's not a gradual slant. So if you're sitting in the 3rd, 4th row, you have height, where if somebody a little bit taller sits in front of you, you can still see. That was really good. I really like that design. But like I said, there are too many blank spots for certain performances. Now, I haven't seen a Broadway show. There's none of them running right now. So I don't know what the Broadway shows look like and what the configuration of the stage will be. Will they have it more of a traditional push back a little further, or are they going to stick to the round? But usually the Broadway shows, they will spread out the dancers to be facing in different directions. It's the individual performers that I have a problem with this type of stage, and I have an individual problem with people who stand up in the aisle directly in front of other people who are sitting behind them and just stand there, completely oblivious to the fact that they're blocking a whole bunch of people who were there well before they were. And that's when the police, not the police, but for lack of a better word, the enforcement should be there saying, sorry, you can't stand here. That should be a simple rule. And all cruise lines need to do that, not just Princess, all cruise lines. Because it just ruins it for so many people because of one person who just couldn't get there in time. Just couldn't get there on time.